Welcome to The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
Join us as we explore the prize inside, looking at holistic health and extraordinary human potential.
Hi there.
Hi there.
The Prize Inside, a podcast dedicated to holistic living and unlocking your human potential.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Whole Health Weekly. Tonight, we're going to go through some trends of the week. And I always like to start out with, you know what I forgot? I forgot the quote of the week from the chiropractic BJ Palmer. So I'll give you one off of my head. So that'll be good. I usually look it up, making sure it's like this really good one. So I apologize for that. I thought I had it all set up. I have a new little episode. I figured out how to do something that we can go through a couple news trends as far as like videos and like from actual like news channels. So I figured out how to do that. That's what I was working on today to kind of bring that to light. But as we go, one of my favorite BJ Palmer quotes, it's actually in my office, kind of hidden away, that it takes I think it's like 30 muscles to frown, but only like 4 muscles to smile, something like that. Why work overtime? I always love that one. So there's our quote of the week. So if you're new to this channel, we run The Prize Inside as a chiropractor's journey. We have a Rumble channel that you can look up and subscribe to that. If you're watching on that, give me a thumbs up or a like or, those kind of things. YouTube as well. So YouTube we have on there as well. We try to go through on Wednesday night, we try to go through the health trends that are occurring, like in the news, because a lot of times it can get very chaotic, especially in health and well-being, like Patient Today. Patient Today is the exact reason. He comes in, he's got leg pain. So it's like sciatic pain. So we start doing this stuff. He had hurt himself. He's hurting pretty good. So we see him Monday. and he's still hurting pretty good today. Now, what had occurred though was in between there, he started Googling. Okay. So he started Googling on the internet, various things. It could be other than what we were working on because he's not real familiar with chiropractic, and we had to walk through, like, sometimes it takes time, right? And it's not any fault of his. He's just used to medical where you have these chemicals that they instantly work, and then all of a sudden, magically, you're off to the races. So one of the things that happened was he had a list of 5 different things. He's like, could it be these? And so he starts going through his Google list. And one of the things I told him is you have to remember this. Okay, so as a doctor, any kind of doctor, medical, chiropractor, whatever, we learn this thing called differential diagnosis. So differential diagnosis is where you take the most common or the most likely condition, when you're working on something, and then go and you make a list down to basically the rarest. So you put all the symptoms together and you're trying to make sure you have the best list, basically, to make sure it's not just one thing. It could be, you could have sciatic nerve problem, but maybe it's a cyst pushing on the nerve. You never know, right? And so the idea is like we want to start with the least invasive, least hard on you, and then go all the way to the most difficult. One of the things that is occurring, and I'd really like to see, if we start really understanding how powerful the internet is, that there's this thing that I keep following. It's called the Internet Bill of Rights. And we don't have that currently. And so a lot of companies can get away with not following the same procedure, let's say a doctor would, a medical doctor or anything like that. Before I go too far, there might be some barking going on tonight. My kid's gone until about 9 o'clock. When she opens that door, this place, I might have to mute us for a second because they're going to go nuts. Okay. So with that said, we'll keep going. So basically what happens is, though, on the internet, let's say the most common thing for a sprained ankle is that you sprained your ankle. You twisted your ankle physically. Okay. So once you twisted that ankle, that is the first thing the doctor would potentially look at, right? Say, okay, it's a sprained ankle. There's ligament stuff. There's swelling. We'll treat it with, in my case, you would adjust it, but we treat it with, for a regular MD, they might say ice and rest and all those kind of things. What the internet can do is, because they understand that fear drives more decisions than anything else. So what they can do is kind of put in your head, maybe your ankle has ankle cancer, right? As you're looking that up. Now, once they do that, all of a sudden your brain is going to be more attentive. If it's just a sprained ankle, you're going to look at that site, know what to do, get off of it. But if I scare you enough, if I just put in your head, it could be something much, much different than that. Maybe it's broken. Maybe it's, whatever it is. Then they have you at this situation where now you also have the mind. And remember how innate intelligence works. There's 3 things that can interfere with a perfect innate intelligence. It's thoughts, toxins, and trauma, right? So if I have a trauma to the ankle, right? I twisted my ankle. But and we know what it is, and we're pretty confident in it. Relatively, you're going to get better, right? But now you throw this thought in there. So now the thought irritates, or it creates this interference with that innate intelligence, making you fear the healing capacity of your own body. And so that's what tonight is really about. It's about, understanding these different things that pop up in the news and some cool trends that might be out there that might be good, might not be, right? But we have to look at them all to see, okay, maybe this is a good trend, maybe it's not. Okay. So that's what tonight is all about. Hopefully it's helpful. It's really helpful for me because I get to look at the latest trends and see what people are getting. If you didn't see it, though, my last recording on Sunday night is called our 1% Tribe Night. We did one on beets. It was really fun because of the nitric oxide and some of this stuff called betalain that's in beets. You should go check that out. So remember that the prize inside a chiropractor's journey on Rumble, a prize inside a chiropractor's journey on YouTube. You can also find the podcast at Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you want to find a podcast. And then the last thing I'm going to bring up, and I'll put it on the screen, is our newsletter. Our newsletter, we're sending out one Tuesdays. It's really short right now, but it's called tribe1.substack.com. So if you put in tribe1.substack.com, put your email in there, and then you'll get little emails from when we come on live like this. And we're starting to put really cool little email blips if you love health stuff, if you like learning about new stuff. This week, I think I can't remember what I put in the two. So we have this thing called Disease Decoder Tuesday. And so right now we're just throwing little snippets in there so that you can actually look at those. So if you're interested in something like that, let me know. All right. So with that said, let's get started for tonight. I looked up with the magic of this AI. This is what the AI stuff is really good for kind of some of these resources. So now we're going to look at health trends that are making the ways through the internet, social media, those kind of things. So our first one looked pretty cool, but I don't know yet. Okay. So these are some of the top buzzing trends on TikTok, Instagram, and X, formerly Twitter. The first one is boiled apple tea. This is a simple drink. You simmer apples in warm tea. It's exploded on TikTok recently, with users claiming it boosts digestion, regularity, and even clearer skin thanks to soluble fiber, pectin. It's easy, low cost, and feels like a cozy winter ritual. Though experts caution it's no miracle cure and works best as part of a balanced nutrition. Okay, so let's talk about that. One of the best things about a lot about apples is that fiber, that pectin, those kind of things, and that it's jam packed. I could see a tea having some good benefits there for sure. But don't ever discount eating the natural apple, right? Because the natural apple, when we look at gut bacteria, which is going to be a huge thing. Speaking of that, just always remember at the office, if you ever want to start, we have started doing gut detox coaching, basically. So we go through and do that at the office. Just let me know. We're having really, really cool results with it, because we're not just looking at, so the gut bacteria is one thing. We look at every organ system, and to make sure that we get through that. In fact, I'm very excited. I think in a few weeks, I get to work on a child that's had some major issues, and it's going to be fantastic. So it's one of those things where your gut microbiome needs fiber. Okay. So that is one reason why natural, like raw apple, would be really good. I don't think, I've not seen much studies on, the medicinal properties of apple. Okay. So as a tea form, maybe it's there, but in my opinion, I think TikTok, if they're saying that it's because the fiber goes good, I would disagree with that, because if you're using it as a tea, you're not getting the fiber. It's pretty easy. So the fiber is part of the apple. It's part of the structure of the apple. So you really want to make sure you're doing, I don't know if a tea is going to get you the pectin fiber. Now, does it have a lot of great nutritional value? Of course. And so you're going to get that out of a tea. So that could be a good one. I would say, should scale them like 1 to 10. I'd give it like a 4, right? 10 being the best, 1 being not good at all. Probably a 4 or a 5 on the scale. I think there's a lot of better teas out there. I can tell you that. Reishi mushroom, ashwagandha, ginseng. The beat goes on. but apple's probably absolutely delicious. So that's probably why they like that one. All right. So here's another one. Japanese walking. Okay. So this is kind of interesting. So Japanese walking, interval walking, it's still going strong from late 2025 into now. This method is alternating fast and slow walk intervals. 3 minutes fast walk, 3 minutes slow walk. And you do that for 30 minutes. It's praised for heart health, fat burning, and being accessible. It's shared widely as a sustainable upgrade to basic walking routines. And I can say this culturally, I don't know if you guys know this, but Japan is interesting. They do a lot of different things. Super, their culture is almost way more active than we are. Yeah, this is a crazy robotics story. So one of my friends, he's a good friend. He helps me with robotics, even though he doesn't have kids in it. He's a mechanical engineer because Lord knows the chiropractor needs, if he's going to be a robotics coach, he's going to need all the help he can get. Well, one day my friend brings his a Japanese kid that was coming up to their factory to, do their thing. And the Japanese kid wanted to see what this robotics thing was all about. So the kid comes, and of course he's having a good time with my kids and broken English, all that stuff. Well, then my buddy tells me this kid got bored after work. So has anybody heard of the store Buc-ee's? So if you've heard of the store Buc-ee's, it's like a down south kind of a truck stop kind of situation, but it's really not a truck stop. It's like a big tourist attraction. There's food, there's all kinds of stuff. Well, the closest Buc-ee's is about 4 hours minimum away from where we live. It's like straight south. Well, this kid gets done at work and drove to Buc-ee's and then drove back. And he goes, "What did you do?" He goes, "I drove to Buc-ee's, like in Kentucky. We were in like Michigan or Ohio or wherever we went." He's like, and he looks, and the kid there, my friend goes, "And Jeremy, this kid did it twice." They're so much more active a lot of times. They don't sit on a couch like right after work. I know us Americans, we go to work and then we flop in a chair. That's what always gets me, because I'm trying to break that habit, like right out of work. And the moment I sit my butt in that chair, I work out at night. And the reason I work out at night is to motivate myself to do it without. So if I don't, like if I work out at night, it refrains me from eating ice cream, let's say, right? And watching some great TV show, not moving for the next, think about that. Once you get out of work, we stop moving essentially from, like, let's say it's 6:00. So 6:00 to 10. So you're 4 hours sitting. Think about that. That's crazy. You wouldn't do that during the day. But we somehow have got our brain working that we can do that. Okay. Right. So that's one of the things. So this interval walking is 3 minutes, fast paced walk, and then 3 minutes slow. Everyone can do that. Now, the cool part is what they're meaning is you could do that at lunch, half-hour workout. And it has proven over and over again in all the basic sciences that interval training like that is really, really good for your heart. It's fantastic. Think of remember the homeostasis model, right? So the innate intelligence of the body has this thing. It's like a wave, okay? Think of health as a wave in a sense, right? The intelligence of our body is kind of moving that way. And so homeostasis, you have to have the up and downs, right? I always think of it as a thermostat in your house. You got to have a 73, or let's say you set it at 70 for when the air conditioner kicks on, and then you have it at 68, let's say, in the wintertime. Okay. So your house fluctuates between 68 degrees and 73, right? Now, let's say you don't have an air conditioner. Now your house can go or let's say you didn't have heat or air conditioning, right? So then the heat can go down to let's say 50 degrees in the house. And then it can go all the way up to 68, 80 degrees in the house, right? So that would be a different homeostatic mechanism. We are uncomfortable at that. We've gotten used to staying in these two lines and not expanding our comfort zone. So here's a good example. What if you did, no one's going to like me saying this, 73, let's say you set your AC at 73 degrees during the summer. So it only turns on if it turns 73. And in the winter, you turn it to like 62. And I'm not saying that to save money and it'd save a ton of money. But what your body would be able to regulate in between there. And as you got used to that, then life would change. You'd get actually good at those things. And that's what I essentially do with homeostasis. So a lot of times that fast walking gets your heart rate up. So your heart rate gets up, and then you go down to rest, and you go down as hard as you can, or down as far as you can in that walk, like a really slow walk, like a resting walk, right? And then you go up to that speed. A lot of people do this with sprinting, right? So they'll sprint. They won't sprint 3 minutes. Some people will. They'll say, like you can do different types of intervals. You can sprint for 2 minutes, go down to rest for 30 seconds, right? And so there's a lot of different things in this interval training. I'll have to walk everybody through one of these exercise patterns. I'll do that because it's so good for the heart. And what it's doing is improving what I call your homeostasis, your heart rate, your elevated heart rate, and your resting heart rate. They start to be better because we are challenging it a little bit, but in a good way. Okay. So interval walking, try it, see what happens. Get a friend. That'd be good. Oh yeah. We talked about that one. Protein sodas. I'm not sure if I'm on board with that. Protein sodas don't sound correct, but that's my opinion. This is just an opinion. Okay. So right now they're pushing, let me read this again. So protein, these are supposedly better for you sodas packed with protein are going viral as everyday fresh refreshment, not just gym fuel. They're trending in wellness routines for convenience, flavor, added nutrition without leaving feeling like a chore. Broad appeal from casual users to fitness folks. Okay. My opinion on that would be that is malarkey. It's probably fake protein. They're going to get really good at like getting more and more synthetic proteins out there. Protein powder is already difficult. And the reason is if all you do is eat protein powder, your body doesn't go through a digestive process that it would do if you ate real protein. Protein, you have to break it down. And so what happens is that's why a lot of people that have gut issues don't like eating protein. It's because their gut has to work hard to break some of the tougher meats down. That's why the lighter stuff like fish, eggs, those kind of things are easier to break down, where steak, even chicken, those can be a thing that's really difficult to kind of break down if your gut bacteria is off, right? So protein soda, I mean, it's so broke down that it's not even, it's a drink. You know what I mean? At least protein powder, there's some consistency there in the whey proteins or however you do it. There's several different types of proteins out there that come in powder form. And that's already broke down protein to the already, so really your body isn't asking you to break it down. It wants to have the process to break it down. But are you doing yourself a favor by breaking down protein so much that your body doesn't have to produce it at all? Right? Think of how nature would want it, right? So that's why I always say protein shakes are one of those things. If I have to do this, I will do that, right? I do a protein shake every day, but one of the things that I do is I have other protein sources every single day that end up doing breakdowns and all those things. Protein can be an add-on, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the breakdown of what they're saying the protein is. Is it just a chemical? Is it like fake sugar? Like what they've duped us on fake sugar for years? Oh, there's this chemical replacement for sugar. And it's just a chemical with a little bit of sugar in it, and then the chemical causes so many problems, it's going to be a thing. So hopefully the protein soda will show its head and maybe not be as popular. Okay. Ooh, I like this one. Okay, so this is the last one we'll do in the trends. The nervous system regulation and pleasure-focused wellness. There's a noticeable backlash against over-tracking optimization, like constantly wearing wearables and metrics, which we've talked about here on this podcast. Instead, trends lean into joy, rest, and nervous system safety, social saunas, somatic practices, breath work, low stimulation activities, and prioritization of emotional repair over hacking harder. Okay, what's going to happen in this new AI world is that we're going to overdo it. So we're going to see a bunch of conditions that go the other way. Neuroses, conditions that really cause some issues. Like you're going to get like neurotic about checking your blood pressure. It already happens, guys. It's already occurred. When we had an at-home blood pressure test, I have some patients that admitted to me they check their blood pressure like 3 to 4 times a day. I go, do you have a blood pressure problem? No. So they constantly are checking it. Now, that becomes a major problem because what happens? So now you're consistently thinking about something like that, right? And so part of being healthy is also enjoying that health, right? Because you can cause yourself, a lot of these thought programs can be the reason those things happen. And so now we're going to have a bunch of wearables. We're going to have AI telling you how to live your life completely. This little wearable is going to tell you, oh my goodness, are you driving next to the McDonald's? Don't do it. Don't do it. It's going to know your thoughts, all this kind of crazy stuff. I would say I would try really, really hard to not get sucked into that piece. Now, with that said, they can be fantastic. They can be, the wearable types technology could be really good for workout baselines, various things like that, right? Where you wear a little bit. Rachel has a watch that she doesn't wear. It's a smartwatch, but it's really easy to track. Like, I don't know. So if I run a mile from my house, it's like a country road. So I can put that watch on for the mile run and then go halfway, see that I'm halfway, and then turn around and come back. Versus before, I had to drive my car halfway, figure out which tree I'm going to turn around at, and then go to that tree and then come back. So, you know, there's a trade-off there. So I understand the trackables and the wearables. In fact, I'm looking at one at the office right now. I cannot wait. Oh, to like track movement patterns of my athletes. I'm like, I cannot wait. I found a new company. There's some companies coming out with some really, really cool things. I had a hold of one years ago and it went kind of defunct. So still trying to find a replacement for those guys, because the technology was just there, right? So in love with the technology, just got to figure out how to, get the company. Sometimes they're just it's such a new technology. Sometimes you just got to watch and wait, right? And so that's one of these that I'm sitting waiting. I cannot wait. So if you have any athletes or yourself, this could be an easy one to do. So anyway, those are the trends I wanted to show you this week. And then let us go into, so what we're going to do now is I want to go and show you some couple fun things. All right, my first one.
Staff at a hospital in Germany got quite the surprise when an unexpected visitor showed up at the emergency room, an injured cormorant pecking at the glass door as if seeking medical attention.
Dass dieser Kormoran augenscheinlich eine Angelschnur um den Schnabel gewickelt hatte und dort vielleicht gar nicht mehr fressen konnte und ihn das sehr beeinträchtigt hat, und haben dann vorsichtig sich dem Vogel genähert, der scheinbar auch sehr zutraulich war und sich bewusst war, welchem Problem er sich dort gegenüber sieht.
In a joint effort, medical staff and firefighters removed the fishhook and treated the wound.
Wir konnten den Schnabel öffnen vom Vogel, der hat alles brav mitgemacht. Wir konnten in seinen Mund gucken, es war nichts verletzt.
The fire brigade later released the bird back into the wilderness.
I thought you guys would like that. I thought you guys would like that one for I thought it was cute. A bird shows up at the ER with a fish hook in its mouth, right at the ER entrance and everything. So I thought that was pretty cool. So that's why I showed you that one. Here is this another? Hang on. Let me see. If she's not in English, we're switching.
In court on Wednesday defending his social media company. A 20-year-old woman who is going by the initials KGM is claiming that by using social media starting at a young age, it caused her to become addicted and also caused mental health issues. She alleges that the algorithms that are used on Meta's Facebook and Instagram and Google's YouTube are designed to be addictive. TikTok and Snapchat were originally part of this lawsuit, but both of those companies settled before the trials started. Meta told CBS News that it disagrees with the allegations and says that KGM had mental health problems before she started using social media apps.
So people keep asking. Okay, so I want to talk about that one. Hopefully you guys heard that. So what occurred was that there's a lawsuit currently in their news right now. Meta's Mark Zuckerberg is in court now. What this lady's claiming is that the algorithms they use, what we're talking about on this show, it is set up for an addictive behavior. Okay. So what that means is it knows what your interests are. Once it understands those interests, it keeps showing you things in that interest. This lady is claiming that because she started at such a young age, which most kids shouldn't, right? It became an addictive behavior, and that addictive behavior became it created a lot of social problems for her. Do I disagree? No, I absolutely agree. So we're going to see where this lawsuit comes out. One of the things that is hard about this, and that Meta's going to have an issue with, is they didn't tell us when. Okay, so when you started with that app, not a lot of people knew that they were going to set up one that was going to neurologically be so good that they could actually addict you in. And what they use on that is either fear. They use these different emotions that allow you to get into those. Now, do I disagree? I want to see where it goes. I'm not going to say yes or no. By Meta going to court kind of fascinates me, because the other ones would settle, because if they find out the algorithms are literally that way, this could open a can of worms that is just crazy, because there's a lot of addictive things, like what I told you. So my ankle, right in the beginning of the show, I said, in doctor world, your doctor is supposed to come in and tell you the most common and probable diagnosis for whatever you had. You sprained your ankle. You have inflammation and swelling around the ankle, so you ice and heat. Algorithms on the internet do not have to follow that. They don't. So then all of a sudden, instead of seeing the swollen ankle, even though you sprained your ankle, they can show you ankle cancer. Okay. Ankle cancer is like the rarest thing that it could have possibly been. But what did they do? They played on a fear. Okay. And so what did that do? It drove you into their website further. Okay. Is it okay? No, it's absolutely evil to do that. The problem is it's real. And that's one reason why Whole Health Weekly's here, because I kept seeing it over the however many years we've had internet this much. When you see this in healthcare, it's crazy. You'll see, a kid convinced that they have to go in for back surgery when they barely hurt it. They had an ice pack. They would, but let's say they didn't even need to get adjusted. They just need an ice pack and some rest, and they were going to get there. But they're getting an MRI. Happens all the time. It's so much more common than really what's happening. That's why my discernment with all my holistic people is try the easy stuff first. Have a coach. If that, don't let your brain start wandering. It doesn't help when all you have is this lonely computer in front of you and it's telling you things, because it's not a conversation, right? We're not having a conversation. It's programming you. That's the idea. Okay. So we'll see where this internet thing goes. I was super fascinated by that. So now that we've done that, I got one more video. Let's do that one. Actually, I like this one. This is from Dr. Berg. I really like this. Dr. Berg is really good. Berg. He has these little 10-minute clips on a lot of things. Some things I disagree. And he's got a few videos that I'm like, it's almost there. But some I do agree with. And this one is pretty good. So just discern it like that, and we'll talk about it. So this one is on blood pressure. What nutritional deficiency we need to look at.
Asking us, where do you film your podcast? We shoot everything inside Riverside. I record our show.
Boy, if you have blood pressure problems, you're going to be pretty happy you watched this video. I'm going to talk about why people have hypertension, the number one mineral deficiency behind this whole thing. 90% of all hypertension is essential hypertension. What does that mean? It means unknown cause, which is very convenient for a drug company who sells medications for blood pressure. I mean, in fact, antihypertensive medication is right at the top list as far as most prescribed medications in the world. First of all, what is hypertension? What is blood pressure? This top number, which is systolic, and the bottom number, which is diastolic. Normally, it should be 120/80. And what this number represents is the contraction of the heart muscle that pushes the blood throughout the whole body, down to the little capillaries, where it then goes through veins and eventually ends up into the lungs, where it gets reoxygenated. So the top number is the contraction of the heart, and the bottom number is the relaxation of the heart muscle. Collectively together, this systolic and diastolic is a heartbeat. And when you have high blood pressure, there's some type of a resistance going on. It could be a blockage. It could be a lot of things. But the point is that when you have a type of blood pressure issue, it puts more stress on the heart. There's a lot of research in the relationship between a potassium deficiency. Personally, I think a potassium deficiency is behind a good majority of this essential hypertension. Why do I say that? Well, number one,
I apologize, guys. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, guys. That was me. That was a quick one. All right, let's go back after it. How did I do that? Oh, where am I at? Dang it. Oh, wait, maybe it's this? Nope. All right, stop sharing for a second. Oh dear. I did something. Okay, maybe go back. Okay. Let me re-screen share that. Oh, I'm so good at this. All right, here we go. So let's listen to that.
Most people are deficient in potassium. Why are they deficient? Because it's a bit hard to get potassium since the requirements are so high. Out of all the nutrients, potassium is the largest amount of nutrient that we need. We need 4,700 milligrams. And an average person does not get that much. And the other interesting thing about medicine is that the whole focus is to reduce sodium for hypertension, right? But what about enhancing potassium? They don't really talk about that. What does lowering sodium do? Well, it indirectly increases potassium. We need about half the amount of sodium to potassium. And I think these ratios are more important than the amounts. Many people are very heavy on the sodium, very low on the potassium, to the point where they're like 3 times as much sodium to potassium. But what does potassium actually do to your blood vessels in your heart? Number one, it directly controls the tone of the vascular system, which is the neurotransmitter for the autonomic nervous system, which is directly connected to a high blood pressure situation, because when you're running up a hill, you have adrenaline that kicks in to raise the blood pressure. Well, potassium lowers adrenaline. Potassium helps support the layer of the inside of the artery called the endothelial layer. And potassium also helps improve insulin resistance. It makes insulin more sensitive. And what's wild is that when you go buy a potassium supplement, it usually comes like no more than 99 milligrams per tablet. How many tablets would you have to take to achieve 4,700? Now, there are electrolyte powders that have more than that. The other consideration that people have about potassium is that, oh, potassium is bad for the kidneys. That is completely false. Potassium is very, very healthy to the kidneys. It's protective of the kidneys. When you have advanced kidney disease, like a stage 4, stage 5, that's when potassium can be dangerous. Now, this next thing I'm going to tell you is even more interesting.
Okay, so with that said, so now you understand that potassium is very important. But if you heard him, he's saying, because we have this, what the doctors are in their good heart, they're trying to, by reducing your sodium, it doesn't compete with this potassium. And so what happens is the potassium is able to stay in your blood longer. That's what he was saying. So like with potassium, though, it is an important thing. And then hopefully you understand you can get a ton of that through green. There's a lot of good veggies out there. So just look up potassium rich foods on top of just supplementation, right? So, all right.
Because if you look at the top medications for blood pressure, they all retain potassium. Interesting. Could it be that some of the positive effects of these blood pressure lowering medications could be because of the potassium effect? Now, where do we get our potassium from? Well, you can get it from salads, but you'd have to consume at least 7 to 10 cups to make a dent into this potassium requirement. And the average person only consumes like a cup and a half. And also these leafy greens contain magnesium too. So the combination of both potassium and magnesium will greatly help blood pressure. There's also data that in the prehistoric Paleolithic times, there's estimations that we consumed like 11,000 to 15,000 milligrams of potassium. Now, there's no way to know this for sure. It's just a good guess. But if you think about what we used to eat way back in the day, we pretty much ate whatever we could find. If we could catch an animal, we would eat it. If we couldn't catch an animal, I'm sure that we would eat vegetation or anything laying on the ground like an acorn or anything. But when we consume refined foods, especially refined sugar, we lose potassium. When we increase adrenaline or cortisol, we lose potassium.
And that's an important piece, right? So if we high stress ourselves, that's why you cause somebody high blood pressure, right? The reason that happens is because we have this, we haven't balanced our thought process too, right? So we're always remember thoughts, toxins, trauma. Toxins also can be a big issue in the sense of these high these really bad foods for us. You know, we have the fake sugars and you have all these other ones that cause potassium to not be in the area.
So I have a challenge for you. I would recommend that you start to beef up your potassium consumption through salad. Just try it for 1 week and see what happens to your blood pressure. If you can't seem to manage that much salad, then find a good electrolyte powder high in potassium. I think you might be pleasantly surprised of all the amazing benefits. Now, just to give you some visual on how much salad you should consume, I put that in this video right here. Check it out.
Okay. So with that, if you ever want to see more on Dr. Berg, he's fantastic. I love his little videos. This one's a good one because in the blood pressure world, a lot of times that is the most common. And one of the things I find holistically is that blood pressure medicines they fit the body pretty well. And we've always wondered that, because a lot of, there's a ton of side effects on a lot of different medications, and blood pressure just seems to fit the body okay, right? And so it's not one that we're like sprinting as holistic guys go, oh my God, you got to get off of this. Blood pressure medicine is not like that. It's not like you can work around it really well. And so one of the thoughts or the assumptions is that it helps with this potassium uptake. So a lot of times when you have the right balance of all the different vitamins and minerals and things, your uptakes is what it's called. The body utilizing, right? Utilizing that stuff. Sometimes potassium let's say with a bad diet, you're not uptaking the potassium, right? So you're not utilizing the potassium when you have this good diet of salads. And I'm going to challenge you one more on him. I would find green powders. Okay. So green powders, if you have any issues with that, let me know. I got some at the office. They're fantastic. Greens make such a big deal. They basically just take green leafy veggies and they get it down to dried powder. Or my beet talk I just did, Rachel and I are going to do a bunch of beets this year in our garden so that we can make beet powder ourselves. And we'll probably throw the beet greens in there too, the leaves, because it has so much good potassium and nitric oxide and all these things in there. So a lot of times if you get it to one of these dry green powders, I think you're going to be surprised at how much potassium you actually can get. Right. And so that is a big problem. If you understand like how many people have blood pressure issues, if this is a good answer, potassium could be there. So check with your doctor, making sure that's all there. People, for some reason, people say that about the kidneys, but you can monitor that, right? You can have your doctor and you monitor it going, listen, I'm going to try this potassium thing because it can help my blood pressure out. Will you help me when monitoring my kidneys? Right. So that's a question you can ask instead of them just saying no. Right. No, I refuse to let you get healthier. No MD is going to say that. And if they do, you go find another one that's willing to work with you. So that's the biggest thing. Like, don't let that happen. I was like, that's the hardest thing is, like a lot of times, the doctor is wanting you to be as successful as you can. I guarantee medical doctor, even in their sick care model, they want you to be as healthy as possible. Right. But they don't know if you're going to stick with what's happening. Right. And so that's the biggest issue. So with that said, let's go on to the next one. So now we can go into our last few minutes. I want to talk about getting into some Dr. Mercola articles. Okay. So this is pretty cool. I found a few. Dr. Mercola is my website. He's a medical doctor. I would call him more. He's a very big, profound, like nutrition guy. Again, he's like Dr. Berg. I'm not going to agree with everything they say, but at the same time, they have a lot of good information. So just remember that as you go. I really like this one. And this was a couple hours ago. And this one should make sense to you. But one of the things we need to start doing, so dancing offers cognitive and movement benefits in Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease affects both movement and thinking, and cognitive decline often reduces independence faster than tremor or stiffness alone. Long-term weekly dance participation helped people with Parkinson's maintain stronger thinking skills compared to inactive peers. Cognitive benefits from dance became clear after about 2 years and depended on consistency rather than workout intensity. So what they're saying there is like, it's just making sure you're doing it every week versus going hard every week, right? So that is a big thing. And that's part of my 1% tribe. Everyday work is actually more effective for you in your health and longevity than an intense workout. Okay. And that's always the case. Dance supported brain health by combining movement, balance, memory, rhythm, and emotional engagement in a single activity. Protecting sleep, lowering toxic stress, fueling your brain properly, and getting regular sunshine help reinforce the benefits of movement. So that one's always good, right? So I like that as far as an article goes. So remember that. You got somebody struggling with a little tremor, dementia, any of those things. Find a dance class. There's several around, even me. So, and we're not a huge town. So if I can find a few, that means you can. Okay. Or start one. Start your own line dancing. Who cares? Just get out there. There's others like you that want to do the same thing. But sometimes partner it up might be the way to go. Okay. All right. Ooh, I really like this one. Okay. This small molecule reverses Alzheimer's disease progression. That study has shown. This is an article done by Dr. Mercola as well. Okay. So your brain is constantly repairing itself until it cannot. This molecule plays a central role in mitochondrial energy, DNA repair, and inflammation control. So it's called NAD+. When you see it, it's a very powerful supplement. Okay. So this is one of those that I recommend pretty highly. So NAD+ is central to cellular energy and mitochondrial health, driving redox reactions that produce energy or ATP. Declining levels of this are linked to metabolic disorders like sarcopenia and diabetes. Alzheimer's disease has strongly associated with disruption of NAD+ balance, and researchers suggest restoring intake can reverse cognitive decline rather than merely slowing disease progression. Animal studies showing restoring NAD+ fully reversed advanced Alzheimer's features, including memory loss, inflammation, some brain pathology, oxidative stress, and DNA damage. Okay, so even after severe disease, NAD functions as an upstream regulator of brain resilience. Okay, so it's a big piece of cellular energy. Just remember that. Practical strategies emphasizing NAD+ status, so you can actually test where your NAD+ level is in your body, and supporting production safely through niacinamide along with other intakes of vitamin B supplementation. So making sure that you are taking adequate B is one way. They actually have NAD+ supplementation, which is kind of cool. So you can go find NAD+ supplementation. Kind of the similar thing I found with creatine, melatonin. These are things that your body already produces. Okay. So they produce it already. In a child, it's not the best move because the child is producing naturally and getting all those bodily protections going. I had a patient talk to me about this the other day. Berberene's another supplement like that. That one is one that helps with insulin and weight loss and those kind of things. Berberene's a very good one. In the world of, like, you hear Ozempic, berberene's a nice natural alternative to that. Doesn't work as powerfully as the drug that puts all the side effects on you, but at the same time, one of the things that happens though is when your body produces something, and I'll use melatonin. When your body produces melatonin, you don't want to replace it completely with some kind of outside supplementation or outside medicine. Okay. What you want to do is you want to replace it to get your body stimulated to reproduce it again. So this is one of those where you don't take it like all the time, right? So you take it in what I call runs. So you'll take, let's say you take 2 weeks of NAD+ and you take a week off. Okay. And that way your body is like, it kind of kickstarts that reproduction of this NAD+, but it's super powerful. It's a very, very powerful supplementation. So remember NAD+. It'll be good for you. All right. I think because, let's end with this one and then we'll go. I love, because ashwagandha is what they call an adaptogen. And remember, in the herbal world, This is a really good one on an article that was just written. How ashwagandha supports stress balance and physical recovery. So, chronic stress quietly sabotages sleep, hormones, and recovery, even in people who train hard and eat well. Ashwagandha is a big one for this. That's what it's called, an adaptogen. I'll probably do another video on adaptogens. They're ones that kind of create that homeostasis in your body to regulate everything. So chronic stress keeps cortisol levels really high, right? So you have this high fight or flight. It disrupts sleep, slows physical recovery, blunts training progress, and prevents your body from fully resetting day to day. Clinical research shows that ashwagandha consistently lowers this cortisol, helping shift your body out of the constant defense mode and back into repair and recovery. Benefits extend beyond stress relief, including improvement in sleep quality, energy stability, and hormone balance, endurance capacity, and post-exercise recovery. Ashwagandha works best when paired with stress-lowering habits like consistently sleep timing, appropriate exercise volume, and steady blood sugar from adequate carbohydrate intake. Consistent daily use over 8 weeks or longer aligns with the strongest improvements, allowing stress signaling to calm so performance and resilience rebuild naturally. So ashwagandha is a really nice herb. It's a very nice herb, and it has that nice adaptation, especially in a high stress environment. So let's say you start working out, high stress, you are a high stress brain, very stress, like those kind of situations. Ashwagandha can be really, really nice. I tend to suggest taking it at night because if you get a good night's sleep, you get this nice rest and digest process as well. Okay. So remember ashwagandha for stress. I like the idea of a tea. You can get it very easily, get an ashwagandha tea, have it at night as a nightcap instead of maybe, a pop. Maybe switch from the high sugar intake and then go, I don't know why I'm sleeping. Right. So we got to think of those things. All right. So my last thing before I close out tonight, I found an exciting thing. I always do one little research on the latest things for chiropractic research, which I'm so pumped I found something good. Okay. Because sometimes we don't get as much researched, if that makes sense, but we get some good stuff once in a while. A case series published in Journal of Pediatric Maternal and Family Health and Chiropractic, volume 2026, highlighted how chiropractic care addressing the misalignments, or what we call vertebral subluxations, and in a pregnant mom, and the pelvic floor biomechanics supported successful VBAC outcomes in documented pregnancies. It emphasized chiropractic as a natural supportive option for comfort and biomechanics during pregnancy, with calls for larger future studies. We've known this for a long time. If the mom, especially in a VBAC is where a female has a C-section, maybe for the first pregnancy, and they want to have a vaginal birth the second time, or a natural birth. A lot of times they're the doctors are very worried about that and all those things, but they're very successful, right? And so this is an interesting case because we know about the first pregnancy. If you allow those pelvis and the mechanics of all that to be moving properly, then a lot of times pregnancy goes really, really well. So, and chiropractic can help with that quite a bit. In the VBAC, because the core is actually literally cut through a C-section, a lot of times your low back becomes a major issue. And so having a way to get that pelvis adjusted, get that lower back adjusted, and make sure the mechanics are right for the next pregnancy helps that dramatically. So I thought that was pretty cool. That was a very cool article. So remember your pregnant people, tell them to get adjusted, or at least get their spine checked, right? So with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's so good to talk to you tonight. I love doing this. You will know. Oh, one more thing. March 28th, March 28th at Myers Chiropractic West in Galesburg, Michigan. We're going to do a talk on anti-inflammatory, a little 3-hour talk at the actual our newer location, so that people get a taste of this beautiful little office or this beautiful clinic that's really, really nice. So I would like to invite you all. So if you watch this and reach out, we can get you on there. Okay. So if you're in town or you got that day, it's March 28th. So we got some time. And it's completely free. It just depends on how limited capacity, of course. So with that said, you guys have a great night. Have the great rest of your week. And just remember, try some of this stuff. Try some of the, start dancing a little bit. See how you feel. You dance every day, maybe it keeps the doctor away. Who knows? All right, you guys have a good night.